During the wee early morning hours of September 25th, 1961, two African-American jazz pianists, Walter Davis Jr. and Frank Hewitt, walked up 6th Avenue towards 28th Street. In the center of Manhattan, the neighborhood was shut down and desolate. The Flower District's sidewalk storefronts kept daylight hours and commercial zones prohibited upstairs residency. The sleepy 6th Avenue bus scattered stray hot dog wrappers, cigarette butts, and paper cups under the street lamps. Davis and Hewitt crossed 28th Street and stopped in front of a 5-floor brick and plank loft structure that dated to 1853. One of them whistled the call of a Chuck Will's widow, a nocturnal, ground-dwelling swamp bird kin to the whippoorwill. The door of 821 6th Avenue was often open. Sometimes there was no door at all, just a dark, open stairwell shaft. Those unaccustomed to the loft, such as Midtown magazine editors and downtown art impresarios, were afraid of it. Davis and Hewitt were dropping by to see if there was a jam session. On this night, a door was installed and it was locked. The temperature had reached over 70 degrees earlier in the day, over 90 degrees on other days that week. The windows upstairs were wide open. The sidewalk whistle was a signal to somebody, anybody, to drop a key down so Davis and Hewitt could let themselves in. Smith was 42 and living on the 4th floor of the building. He had wires running like veins through walls and floors, connected to microphones on one end and a reel-to-reel tape machine in his dark room on the other end. He recorded the comings and goings all night. His mics caught the mimicked Chuck Will's widow around 2 a.m.
Frank, there's another chirping willow out here.
47 years later, in 2008, I was listening through headphones to this particular recording one night in my home in North Carolina. I was jerked to attention by the recorded bird call. What was that? Reverse 15 seconds play. Reverse 15 seconds play. Reverse play. Reverse play. The Chuck Will's widow spends summers in the wooded swamps of the American South and winters in northern South America and the Caribbean. Its call is a click or chuck, followed by 2 quick boomeranging loops, an intricate siren-like melody. Only a practiced whistler familiar with the sound could mimic it. The bird call was familiar to me from my life on the shores of the Pamlico River in North Carolina's rural coastal plains, where I grew up in the 1970s and where I still spend a lot of time today. Frank Hewitt was born in New York to parents from Trinidad. Walter Davis Jr. was born in Richmond, Virginia. Either man could have whistled the Chuck Will's widow call, but I believe it was Davis, who later in his life said he saw the ghost of a dead Thelonious Monk walk into his recording studio. It would be like Davis to value, practice, and preserve a bird call from his childhood on the James River in Virginia, in the same manner that he preserved Southern gospel and blues traditions in his jazz. What still puzzles me about this tape, though, is that Smith recognized the bird call instantly. He was sitting near the 5th floor window of the loft, disassembling microphones and cords he had installed to catch jazz jam sessions that could happen there on any night and early morning. He was storing his equipment in preparation for his absence. The next afternoon, he would fly to Japan from Idlewild Airport, now JFK. He left one microphone live, connected by wire to his tape machine a floor below. After hearing the whistle, Smith recorded himself on tape mumbling, "Frank, there's a Chuck Will's widow out there." Frank was Frank Amos, a young jazz drummer who had moved into a space on the 5th floor earlier that summer. Amos responded, "Oh, somebody's out there?" He walked to the window, leaned out, and looked down to the sidewalk, recognized Davis and Hewitt, said hello, and told them there weren't any jam sessions happening that night. "Forget it, man. It's too late. That's all I can tell you." According to the 1960 Bulletin of the Kansas Ornithological Society, the Chuck Will's widow was sometimes known to migrate up the Arkansas River from the Mississippi as far as Wichita, the farthest west that bird was known to go. Maybe that's how Smith knew it, from growing up on the Arkansas in Wichita. But he also collected vinyl LPs with recorded insect, animal, and bird sounds, which could explain how he knew it. Or maybe it was because Davis or Hewitt made that call each time that they came to the loft, and Smith discussed it with them. It's hard to believe there were numerous visitors to the loft that could whistle that intricate sound from their mouths, especially loud enough to be heard 5 floors up through a window. Later in 2008, I visited Frank Amos at his home in Santa Ana, California, and I played him this clip of tape. He was amused and baffled. He had no recollection of hearing the bird call whistled by anybody during the 6 months he lived in the building in 1961. This particular piece of tape says much about the isolation and desolation of this neighborhood in the center of Manhattan. That a human whistle from the sidewalk could be captured by Smith's microphone 5 floors above the street. It made the location perfect for a late-night jazz haven, a place easy to stop by on your way to somewhere else, where nobody was around to complain about noise at 3 in the morning. It also made the place a whole. After 20 years of research, 24 cross-country visits to Smith's archive, and over 500 oral history interviews in 26 states and Japan, I finished writing this book in Durham, North Carolina, standing at my bar-high desk made from Gene Smith's 8-foot stainless steel darkroom sink, the same sink he installed in his 6th Avenue loft in the 1950s. Behind my desk sits his custom-made Heart of Pine light board that he used to inspect negatives. Smith's son, Patrick, the toddler holding hands with his little sister, Juanita, in the iconic 1946 photograph, The Walk to Paradise Garden, sold his father's equipment to me in 2006 when he and his wife, Phyllis, were cleaning out their basement in Pleasant Valley, New York. The deal is, he told me, you have to take all of it. You can't cherry-pick the valuable things. And if I ever want it back, you have to sell it to me at the same price. A few weeks later, Pat and his son Link loaded a truck and drove the equipment down to Durham. I wanted Smith's steel darkroom sink to become useful for me too, but not in his manner of using it. It's resting in a metal frame made for me in 2012, a desktop formed by a sheet of security glass resting on top of the basin, held in place by rubber bumpers. If somebody wanted to use it as a darkroom sink again, the integrity of the original object is maintained.